Hi, everyone. Happy to see so many faces, and I think there are some people over there. So we are here today to quickly talk to you about Databricks. First, before we start, a quick question. Who of you already heard about Spark in the room? Put your hands up. Wow, that's amazing to see. So for most of you, it will be a recap, what I'm going to say right now. For some of you, it will be just a possibility to be on the same page. And then Vincent will go deep dive, will show some use cases and talk a little bit more about the platform. So quickly, why Databricks and how it was created? So it's a platform, a unified analytics platform that is powered by Apache Spark, as you know, and it was created by original founders of Apache Spark. Already 12 years ago, they thought about something that had a great potential in the market, but there were some issues. And basically 5 years ago, when they created Databricks, the problem was still there, and the problem may be still there today. And I will go talk to you about this problem that I think most of you already know about. So obviously, everybody talks about AI today, but if you listen attentively, you will understand that actually, despite the promise of huge potential, there are only a certain numbers of companies who are successful with AI. And you hear all the same names all over again over the media and so on. So why is this happening? So a couple of years ago, at one of the conferences, so basically Google released this graph and the paper, and basically, and that you know very well, the machine learning is only a small part of the competences that you need to have in the company to be successful with data. And these are all other competences that you need, that the company, data-driven company needs to have. And these are all other competences that they have. And when we look in the company, what is happening as a result today, and we see it across a huge amount of companies. So there is somewhere, usually in IT, there are data engineers sitting there, making sure that there is data in data warehouse, data lakes are safe, consistent, and so on. And they're working with different types of databases and so on. And then on the other side, somewhere in a different department of the company, and again, I think it talks to you profoundly right now, there are data scientists who work with a zoo of machine learning frameworks as of today and in different data scientist languages. And what they want to have a reliable and clean data. But usually these are silos between data engineers and data scientists. Let's move on. And so that's why Databricks. That's the whole vision that it was the company was created with, to create this unified analytics engine, where this is a one framework where from one side you can do the big data, really big data processing at scale. You can do ETL, you can do SQL processing, you can do real-time analytics, but at the same time, there are frameworks that would support machine learning, and data scientists can work with their preferred languages like Python or R, and they also can work with their preferred frameworks like TensorFlow or PyTorch or anything else. So that was an introduction, and now we'll give the word to Vincent, who will go you through a couple of interesting use cases and what we see from a customer side.
Okay, thank you, Natalia. So first, Spark. So a few people know Spark. What's key? It's currently becoming the de facto standard data processing engine. So you find Spark in every Hadoop distribution. You find Spark in every ETL pipeline. So, and why is it so? Why Spark is so widely adopted? It's because of its ease of use. For those who have already worked with it regarding the API, the level of the framework, and so on, the ease of use is tremendous, meaning it abstracts all the complexity of doing some ETL at scale, so distribution and so on. Second point, why is it so widely adopted? is due to the performances. Performances outside of the box. Meaning what? Meaning if you use data frames in Spark 2.0, you already get a lot of internal optimization in your code. Meaning it's already when writing your first code, you already get good performances, and then you can tune it to improve this. Third one, it's the sophisticated analytics. So having some advanced analytics, doing some machine learning, doing some deep learning. We completely integrate the standard deep learning framework or machine learning framework, namely scikit-learn, TensorFlow, Keras, and so on, are completely integrated into Databricks Spark. And also in terms of languages, when you're a data scientist today, you work either with Python or R. Both are completely supported. So what this sophisticated data processing engine helps to solve? So what we see from customers is clearly we want to provide data faster to the business. What does it mean? It means you have a new source of data, you have new logs, you have new logs from your website, you have a new version of your website with new dimension in your data. How long does it take to actually bring some insights to the business for that? It cannot take anymore like 3, 4, 5 months. It's too long for the business. You have to be able to go faster to update your dashboard, to update your data marts and dataware. The second point is about providing machine learning, deep learning models faster also to the business with the right accuracy, of course. What do we mean with faster? It's good to do some experiment on your laptop with scikit-learn, show that this approach, be it a logistic regression or whatever, is promising for a certain use case, be it predictive maintenance, being a recommendation on the website, and so on. You have to, once you've done that, how do you actually put this into production? How do you learn? How do you do more complex training on a larger set of parameters? So so-called grid search parameters. How do you parallelize like maybe hundreds, thousands of training in parallel to see in 2-3 hours how the best accuracy you can have with your model? How can you put this into production also? Once you have your model, once you have developed it into scikit-learn, Spark MLlib, Keras, TensorFlow, and you want to actually push this model, you want to run it in batch, you want to run it in streaming, you want to run it through being called by a mobile application. So you need a REST API with a very low latency that can scale. How you can address with one single development, how you can address all those requirements. For that, you need a unified platform. That's what Natalia was mentioning, and we provide this unified platform. So bringing the data faster to the business, faster to the data scientists, bringing the data scientists the compute power, the right frameworks, and also the ability to understand the data faster and so on. That's what we bring. The third point is about increasing the refresh, the frequency of refresh. With faster, it is meant also that you have a daily batch. Your business have the reportings, dashboarding, showing what happened yesterday. Good so far, not anymore sufficient for most of the business. And also the competition does this more frequently. So there is a clear demand to refresh every report, every model also fast at a higher level. So you need to have the right stuff in place. You need to be able to refresh, so we are going into the streaming. So when it comes to IoT scenario, when you want to monitor devices, you need to be able to deal with near real-time data at scale. And the last point, you need to be able to do all this at scale. If you have a batch running every day, taking 6 hours, and then the business, either due to a takeover or with more insights, more detailed data, you get 3 times, 4 times, 10 times the amount of data that you need to process. And you say, so if you don't have the right platform to scale, 6 hours times 10, 60 hours. You cannot do that. So you need to have also making sure that what is running today can scale. And you cannot say, okay, let's wait 3-4 months. We have to rewrite everything to make sure we can do this at scale. We can take this new amount of data. You cannot say we need 10 months or a few months to do so. So you need to have the right infrastructure in place. So you need to have first the technology to parallelize the processing, to distribute the processing, and you need to have the infrastructure abstracted. That's what the cloud, the Azure cloud brings to you to be able to actually do this. So imagine I was working with a huge manufacturer regarding tires, they had this huge logistic batch running 6 hours every day, and they were getting more and more data. They were getting more and more complex, advanced analytics, advanced algorithms to be more precise, to be more accurate. This batch was sometimes crashing after 4 hours of run. So they didn't have the time even to rerun it. They didn't have the capacity to enrich it, to make it more sophisticated, to bring more accuracy, and so on. And they completely changed the technology stack, going to Spark, to actually have all this. So handling data faster, sophisticated analytics, machine learning models also faster with a great refresh time. And also now they are very confident that they can scale. So if for any reasons they get 10 times the amount of data, they will just have to put the right cluster in front of it. And with Azure, if you have already today a 20 nodes cluster, having a 100 nodes cluster is just a configuration. So what is Azure Databricks at the end? So it's first, so it's clearly it's a Spark. It's a Spark service made really easy to use. For that, you have to abstract all the cloud services. So that's where we talk about PaaS service, so platform as a service. So you don't have to take care of I have to run a virtual machine. I have to configure my Linux. I have to monitor every machine. I have to make sure I have the password somewhere and so on. You don't have to take care of that. It's done by the Databricks cloud service, where the complete infrastructure is completely abstracted. On top of that, we put, so it's here, Databricks Cloud Service, we talk about cluster management. For those who will join the labs that we are doing just after this presentation, you will be able to see this in detail. On top of that, we bring the Databricks runtime. The Databricks runtime, it's basically Spark, open source, plus a lot of optimization that we do. So you remember, Databricks was founded by the creator of Apache Spark, guys like Matei Zaharia. So when it comes to Spark knowledge, we are the biggest shop in the world. So we still contribute for 75% of the source code. But on top of that, we bring our own optimizations. So regarding SQL, we bring Databricks Delta, which brings some ACID semantics for big data sets. Meaning what? Meaning you can deliver faster because you can update a large data set. You don't have to recreate it from scratch. And also, we bundle a lot of machine learning framework within this Databricks runtime. So all the Databricks runtimes comes with a set of thousands of libraries on top of Spark, with some proprietary optimization while still maintaining open source framework API. Your code is still completely open source. We bring this all together. So now that with those two, the cloud service and the runtime, we have a Spark engine running on clusters. Still, if you want to go fast, you need something else. So you need a workspace. You need an environment where you will actually do the coding. You will do the production side. You will share between dev and prod and so on. That's where comes into play the Databricks collaborative workspace. It's a set, so the first thing it provides, it's Databricks notebooks. So it's really similar to Jupyter, Zeppelin notebooks. So it provides you a complete environment to develop. Nevertheless, if you still want to use the environment you use today like IntelliJ, Eclipse, Jupyter, if you want, you can still use them and connect them to a Databricks workspace. We manage models with Apache MLflow. You can create jobs to go into productions, and we have a REST API to interact with the workspace, with clusters, with notebooks, with jobs, and so on to facilitate the production side. This is the so. In a few minutes, when you create an Azure Databricks workspace from your Azure portal, that's what you get. You get all this in a few minutes. Compute, environment, and so on. Then what's key also is the integration with the Azure ecosystem. So Spark, as an open source, already provides a lot of connections to the any kind of sources, be it Kafka, Cassandra, MongoDB, any kind of cloud storage. But when it comes to Azure, we have a specific set of connectors that are developed jointly between Microsoft and Databricks to make sure that it is fully optimized. So that's also very key in this whole ecosystem, is that all those arrows are basically part of the service you get with Azure Databricks, meaning all the Spark connectors to Blob Storage, Data Lake Store, SQL Data Warehouse, Cosmos DB, Event Hub, and so on, are completely supported by Microsoft and Databricks. First, they are optimized in terms of performances, and we take care that in case of trouble, they are part of the support. So you get the complete set. And then it's well integrated with Azure Data Factory and also with Azure DevOps. And just to show you the motion we have with Microsoft, so we are working jointly on the engineering side. So creating this service well integrated into Azure, it's a lot of joint work, Microsoft engineering, Databricks engineering. And for instance, Azure DevOps was announced late in September, end of September last year by Microsoft, and it was fully supported, at least for the source control part, the repos part. It was supported in Databricks beginning of December. That's the kind of timing you see. When I talk also about versioning, here, Spark 2.4 was available end of October, sorry, and it was available in Databricks beginning of November. So you have the latest version, so you benefit from the latest optimization, and when Spark 3.0 will come, it will bring a lot of optimization, new features, and so on, and you will be able, in the same workspace, you will be able to play with a Spark 2.2, for instance, for your production, or 2.4, if your production has been validated on this version. And for your new development, for your investigation, you can run a cluster in the same workspace with Spark 2.4, Spark 3 later on. Then the right side, I will start with security integration. Also, with the one-click setup, you get also the complete integration with Azure Active Directory. So you have everybody who has an identity into Azure Active Directory can access and is invited to your workspace. Everything is already set up for those people to access the workspace. Within the workspace, we also manage permissions. So not everybody is capable of creating a cluster, running a cluster, resizing a cluster. So you have a very well-governed environment. Security is key. And then, of course, you have the integration with Power BI for the reporting. So you can use Spark SQL as the backend SQL engine. You can also put either a SQL DB or SQL Data Warehouse in between, if that makes sense also. Also, very important, the integration with Azure Machine Learning Services. So again, when you want to put into production your model, you want a website, a mobile application to be able to score something in near real time, you need to push your model into something like Azure Kubernetes Services. And with Apache MLflow, we have this tight integration. So with one simple notebook, you can push your model into production. Meaning what? When it comes to continuous integration, continuous development, you have a very fast one. So you have the data engineers preparing the data in the same workspace, the data scientists training the models, tracing everything they've done so far, and then they say to people in charge of pushing stuff into production, they say you need to get this version of the model that is being tracked by Apache MLflow tracking server. And then they just have to run a notebook with the right ID, the right versioning, and then they push the model to whatever they want. So that's really where you see the unified platform at play. You get everything with one-click setup, a unified billing. Important, you never see you have one bill, your Azure bill, and then it's a contract between Databricks and Microsoft for us. But you see one person, you see one. Every time you will get a problem, you will have one ownership, and Microsoft and Databricks work together to help you. No, okay. Well, who are our customers? So we see first a broad customer adoption. Clearly, what we see that every time we have a customer starting to use Azure Databricks, they cannot move backward. So the agility in cluster management, the agility of separating compute from storage. So being able to stop your cluster, being able to have your clusters running only when you need them. So bring very close to your actual consumption. Basically, you never pay when you're not using. So very close to a serverless architecture. That's what people also like, and having everybody being able to share and work together in those workspaces. We have customers in the, for instance, we work a lot today with a car manufacturer regarding autonomous car. Those systems produce large amount of data. In one car, you have thousands of sensors. And at some point, you need to manage time series. You need to align this at scale to be able to even do the simple query like, tell me when the driver brakes while the autonomous drive was activated, stuff like that. They need to find all those special events on millions of kilometers. So you have to do this at scale, fast, and be able to reproduce them. We also work a lot with energy production. So we are working with, for instance, solar panel, wind turbines. What's key for those customers is to be able to predict accurately what they're going to produce, because they put this electricity on the network. If they produce less than what they thought, they get fined, they get penalties, and if they produce more, they don't sell what they produce above the target they share with the network. Predictive maintenance everywhere. Every time someone is selling a device, we are working with Carl Zeiss, for instance. They are selling a microscope, but also measurement instruments for the industry. They have some engagement, so they have to make sure that their system are working correctly. That when they are giving a measure, it's the right one. And they have to monitor their devices near real time to make sure that they are operating correctly, that there is no anomalies in the system. And for that, they need to first gather historical data, build advanced models, and being able to play this like every 15 minutes, for instance. Retail industry also. Website recommendations. Every time you have a retail website, and it can be quite wide, purely retail, but also video on demand and so on. Recommendation engine also, we see this everywhere, and we have interesting, I would say already well advanced use cases. So a few things regarding the roadmap. We work a lot on the integration with Azure. We work a lot on Databricks Delta, because it brings basically, by bringing ACID semantics, bringing the ability to update data sets which have maybe hundreds, millions of rows, while still consuming it, while still querying this data set at the same time. It brings huge, again, it's completely compulsory when you want to refresh data faster. You cannot anymore say, okay, I'm refreshing data. When it's done, I will swap the two data sets and then you will see the new version. No, you want to do this more incrementally and almost near real time. So we are working a lot on Delta for that. We are working a lot on the Databricks runtime. So having Spark open source, but a lot of innovation, a lot of optimization, a lot of performance improvement outside the box, a lot of improved connectivity, and so on. And also when it comes to clusters on compute, it's having a better integration, more serverless computing, so being as close as possible as your actual consumption. So just to wrap up, we have a few minutes. What brings Microsoft Azure Databricks? A unified analytics platform. So it unifies big data processing and machine learning on the same platform. It's fast, easy, and collaborative, based on Apache Spark, of course. It's jointly developed with Databricks and Microsoft. The benefits we see, clearly we see improved productivity. So when it comes to data engineers, data scientists, it's the ability to actually produce, advanced complex pipelines, ETL pipelines in production, complex models in production, the ability to retrain on a regular basis on the newest data to make sure your models remain accurate. Again, anytime you have more data, anytime, and I'll just give an example here. I was working with Carl Zeiss. They had this huge batch processing new data. This batch was taking 5 hours, and it was too long for them. So we worked with them. We fixed a few things. We tuned the Spark jobs. We went down to 40 minutes. And then the next step we did, we tested that if we double the size of the cluster with the right tuning, we basically reduced to 20 minutes, roughly the time of the job. Meaning what? So now they are running it into 40 minutes, which is good for them, but they know that if they increase the volume of data by 2, by 3, by 4, by 10, they will still be able to, with the same environment, without redeveloping and so on, they will be able to process those new data by just changing the configuration of one cluster. So if you have any questions, we have the lab, so it will be a lab, so technical stuff. So we are sharing Spark code through notebooks. We will run those notebooks on the Azure Databricks workspace. And that was a very quick introduction to what we can do. If you have any questions, we have 2 minutes left.
Any questions? So just the last word, you can always try it for free, databricks.com. There's a trial, go and play with the platform. And every time you think about at scale, think about Databricks. And we're waiting for you at our lab. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.